About an hour away from the highly anticipated meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and President Donald Trump, the leaders are expected to sign a deal to grant U.S. access to Ukraine's rare minerals. It's the first time they will face each other since a string of comments by Trump calling Zelenskyy a dictator. He also blamed him for a war that he actually didn't start because Vladimir Putin actually started it. CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand is live from the White House to break down what we can expect from this morning's meeting. Natalie, you have a preview for us.
Good morning, Vlad.
Hey.
Yeah, and it was just a week ago that we were talking about this escalating public feud between President Trump and Ukraine's President Zelenskyy. As you noted, the president here in the United States has blamed Ukraine for a prolonged war following Russia's invasion 3 years ago. And yesterday, notably, the president ahead of this meeting tried to walk back a bit that dictator comment, questioning whether he said it. So that's where we start going into this meeting. Of course, the Trump administration is pushing for a ceasefire peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine, for its part, of course, pushing for security guarantees to protect its sovereignty and its land. And it's very unclear at this point what that ultimate deal could look like. But really, what's at stake today is this other agreement pertaining to rare earth minerals and trying to develop a partnership between the United States and Ukraine on that front. Of course, we are talking about critical assets that, are in everything from electronics to military equipment, fighter jets. So this is critical, the White House believes, for national security and the economy.
So let's talk about that minerals deal. What more can you tell me about that and why the U.S. is pursuing it?
Yeah, well, right now, China dominates the market when it comes to production and also processing of rare earth minerals. It's estimated about 90% of the processing comes from China. So the U.S., even going back to the Biden administration, has been trying to look for ways to bolster its own supply chain and diversify to try to reduce the reliance on China. I talked to an expert from the Center for Strategic and International Studies about the strategy by the Trump administration. Take a listen.
The big challenge is that we only have about 1.5% of the world's rare earths, so we source a lot of them from abroad. The final agreement is essentially an establishment of a fund, and the fund takes 50% of the revenue generated by future mineral assets and puts them into a fund that can be used to fund investment in Ukraine.
And Gracelyn Basker in there, she says what's important to note is mining takes time. It could take up to 20 years to develop a mine and then even determine, whether it's fruitful and yields benefits. So we still have a long way to go. And obviously, another big question for private sector investment in this endeavor would be security and stability in the region.
Let me ask you something about this federal judge that has ruled that the mass firings by the administration of these probationary government workers is likely illegal. So this is really kind of an interesting development here, Natalie. Explain that to our audience.
A major development and a court ruling late last night out of San Francisco, and it was a ruling from the bench. So what we are still waiting to see is the details of this court order. But we know that the judge in Northern California, the federal judge, as you noted, he ruled that the mass firings of these probationary employees was likely illegal, and he granted some temporary relief. But it really remains to be seen what that means for the probationary employees who were already terminated, the thousands of them. I spoke to someone from one of the unions involved in filing this suit, and he said they're still eagerly awaiting, the details of this, trying to sort through what it means in practice moving forward. And also important to note that this was just the first phase of this. There's another hearing scheduled next month to further hear this case. So hopefully more details on the implications very soon.
All right, Natalie, always great to have you. Thank you very much.